Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today I'm going to be getting into some classic thriller recs for you guys. If you've been around here for a while, you know this is like kind of my bread and butter. This is not a top 12 video. There's no theme for today's books. It's literally just general thriller recommendations. If you've been feeling like you don't know what thriller to read, or you're kind of in a slump, or you're stuck, or you're paralyzed, wondering what do I read next, and you're a thriller girly, you found yourself in the right place. I have been up and down with reading thrillers over the past few months, but I'm happy to say that I've read quite a few that have gotten me out of that slumpy feeling. So I have 10 thrillers that I feel like nobody talks about enough to recommend to you guys. But before we get into the video, I do want to let y'all know a little bit about Skillshare. You probably know, at least you will know if you're a part of my Patreon, that recently I've been getting more into the production side of making my videos, like using my professional Canon camera, using a lighting setup, and getting a better editing program than iMovie. And Skillshare has been so helpful with that. They have courses where you can learn the most niche skills. It's so cool. And now they have this kind of like scaffolded learning program where you can take pathways, and there are curated sequential class collections that help you scaffold your learning to master a certain skill or hobby. So you're starting at the basics and kind of like working your way up to more advanced and niche skills. And I think this is so cool. Like, you're not just jumping in. Like, some Skillshare classes, they give it to you all at once, which I think is really cool, really valuable. But the learning paths kind of allow you to titrate the experience and go at your own pace, which is really awesome, especially for someone like me who's like so new to using this equipment. I am not about the technology, okay? I am about the books, but I'm trying to learn for y'all. And if you've never heard of Skillshare, like in any context, I'll tell you a little bit about them as well. They're an online learning community with literally thousands of classes, thousands of topics, all taught by professionals in their field. I am taking the learning path on Final Cut Pro so I can learn how to edit a little bit better. And then they also have a class on the learning paths about DSLR cameras. So I am learning to use that not only to film videos, but to shoot content for Instagram as well. You can take classes on like film and production like I'm doing, or more like niche hobby stuff like painting, crocheting, crafting, music, really anything you can dream of. So if in the new year you're wanting to invest in yourself and learn a new skill, Skillshare is perfect for that. You can take your creative passion or project to the next level. So if you're interested in trying out Skillshare, the first 500 people to click my link will get a free month on their subscription, which is so cool. If you're wanting to check it out, definitely hit that link, be one of the first 500, and you will get your free month. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and now let's go ahead and get into the book recs. So I want to start out with a thriller that came out last year, and I feel like it just didn't get the hype it deserved. I feel like maybe a lot of people write this author off because she's had some hits and misses. At least for me, it's been a mixed bag, but I absolutely loved Everyone Here Is Lying by Sherry Lapina. I read it right when it came out last year, and I could not believe the feeling that I got when I read that book. It's exactly what I look for when I read a thriller. I read it in a matter of hours. It was so bingeable. It kept me on the edge of my seat, and it had some surprise tropes in the twists and towards the ending that I just absolutely loved. If you like domestic drama and like suburban dynamics, you will love this book, but it's not just that. There's actually a really fast-paced mystery underlying the whole plot as well. Basically, what happened is this dad came home from work a little bit early because he was engaging in some duplicitous behavior, and he ends up running into his daughter and sees that she's home early from school, and he's like, "What are you you doing here? But he doesn't think much of it because he's off to see his lady on the side. Well, he has to think about it a lot more later in the evening when it turns out the little girl has gone missing. And the last person to see her alive was her father, but he can't tell people that he saw her alive because it would implicate him and probably ruin his marriage. So as the reader, we are pretty much going door to door to door in this little subdivision, trying to talk to all the neighbors, get everybody's perspective, see what everybody saw, hear everybody's secrets, and figure out what the hell happened to this little girl. Was her father involved? I think it is so drama-filled, so exciting, such an easy read, and totally shocking. I absolutely loved the twist in this story. It was so good. It made it not your typical domestic suspense, and I highly recommend it. I gave it 5 stars. Oh my god. Me getting through a grand total of 1 book recommendation before I'm interrupted filming is literally crazy. Let me just talk about the books. My next recommendation for you all is a recent read, and that is No One Needs to Know by Lindsay Cameron. I read this one in my most recent new release thriller reading vlog. If you missed that one, I will link it up above and down below. I read 4 newer release thrillers and an arc, I believe. One of them, maybe 2 arcs, but I really enjoyed a lot of them. This was the standout from that video though. It was my very favorite. We are following a group of suburban moms in this thriller, but it's not your typical suburban setting. So if you're wanting more like typical predictable suburban setting, go with Everyone Here's Lying. If you want something a little bit more niche, pick up No One Needs to Know. This one takes place on New York's elite Upper East Side, and we are following a bunch of moms who are involved with this app, and it's kind of like adult yik yak. Like if you were a victim to the whole yik yak craze on your high school or college campus, this will definitely resonate with you because there is this app called Urban Myth, and it's synced to your zip code, and everyone can just anonymously post anything. So people are posting just insane stuff about their neighbors, their friends, themselves. Things pop off when the entire data of this app gets leaked. So everyone knows everybody's business. Everyone knows who leaked everybody's business. People have been telling on themselves, and it leads to murder. It is so scandalous, so interesting, such a fast read, and I loved the ending. I absolutely loved the outcome. It also just like didn't feel like petty drama. I don't know, a lot of the times like these kind of domestic suspense thrillers just feel like very petty, but this felt like very empowering. Like there was a sense of like the women that we were following were on journeys, they were growing, they were learning about themselves, and I really like that. Next up, I want to recommend My Darkest Prayer by S.A. Cosby. I love S.A. Cosby. I'm pretty sure we all know that at this point, but I feel like this is one of his books that gets the least amount of love from me, which we definitely need to fix that because this is such a good one. I feel like people don't pick it up on my recommendation because I rated it lower than his other books, but I really just want to make it clear. I love every single one of this man's books. He can do no wrong in my eyes. I still gave this book 4 stars. I had so much fun with it. I mean, I don't know if fun is necessarily the right word, but it took me on a journey. As always, S.A. Cosby's books are so heart pumping. I'm like, my heart is racing. I'm like losing my breath as I'm reading. I'm turning pages at the speed of light. That always happens with his work. And this is a small town thriller about a man who kind of does everything for his little town. He's kind of the person that people turn to when nobody else knows how to handle a situation. And usually he handles bodies because he runs the local funeral home. So when a local priest dies, he is asked to not only do the autopsy and like handle the body, not autopsy, what do you call it? The preparation of the body for the funeral, but he is also asked to investigate and find out what happened to him. Now, in looking into this, so much comes to light. Like he unearths this whole web of dark secrets that have been lying underneath his little small town for years and may have to do with his traumatic past. As always, the main character resonates so deeply. A lot of S.A. Cosby's main characters like could not be more different from me. I think every S.A. Cosby main character is a straight black man and I am a queer white woman. So to be able to relate to these characters so deeply, I just think is so incredible. His writing is deep and emotional without losing the pacing of a breakneck thriller. So good. If you like religious trauma and deep dark underbellies of southern small towns, you will love this one. Next up, I have a book that maybe a lot of people would avoid because it's kind of marketed as horror, but I think it reads more like a thriller. It definitely has horror elements to it. If you don't like horror at all, maybe you wouldn't love this, but if you're trying to get into horror and you're a thriller reader, I think this would be a great place to start. And that is The Devil Crept In by Anya Alborn. We are following the disappearance of little boys in a small town in this book. We are following a child main character, so if you like that kind of childlike voice, you're gonna really like this, and I also think it lends itself to the creepiness of this book. And our little main character, his bestie, his cousin, has gone missing, and that was like his only friend in the whole world. It's kind of heartbreaking that he's like, I'm alone now, I don't know what to do. And he, of course, is distraught looking for his little cousin, but the town is just like, this happens all the time. It's like once a year a little boy goes missing, what you gonna do about it? Well, our little boy main character cannot let it go, so he starts to do his own investigation and he uncovers something so dark. It definitely has pieces that are not rooted in reality, so if you don't like that, maybe don't pick up this book. Again, there are horror elements, but the majority of the book is paced so well. It's paced like a thriller. It kind of reads like It or Stranger Things because it's coming from that like little boy lens, but it's written by a woman, so there are none of the like weird It kind of things, if you know what I mean. And a lot of it is like a missing persons investigation up until like the last, I would say 30 to 25% of the book. So it has that really atmospheric thriller energy. It's creepy, it's intense, and I think it's a great gateway horror book. Next up, we have an underrated gem that I have definitely recommended before, but I never see anybody talking about it, so I'm going to talk about her again, and that is The Replacement Wife by Darby Kane. The pitch that I always give when I talk about this book is that it reminds me of that classic reading a thriller for the first time kind of feeling. If you got into thrillers with something like The Woman in Cabin 10, The Girl on the Train, Gone Girl, like some of those like classic titles, I feel like this one will hit for you and take you back to that nostalgic place of first reading thrillers. In this book, we are following a woman who is suspicious of her brother-in-law. Her husband's brother is just a creep, and he seems to just go through partners like one after the other. He had a girlfriend who died mysteriously. His previous fiance like went missing, or like nobody ever heard from her, and now his most recent partner, nobody can get a hold of her, and she starts to put the pieces together and think like this man is doing something to these women. But everyone in her family is gaslighting her down. They will not see her evidence, they will not see her reasoning, they are just making her feel like she is crazy. Throughout the course of the book, we are trying to figure out, is she an unreliable narrator? Is she going crazy? Or is this brother-in-law really killing women? Or is it some third variable? If you like reading from a paranoid, unreliable narrator that keeps you guessing the entire time and makes a 400-page book fly by, you will love The Replacement Wife. Next up, we have Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. I read this one at the end of 2023 and I loved it so much, but I feel like she didn't get her moment because right after I read it, we went right into like holiday content. So I want to give her her stage and her time. In this book, we are following Sally Diamond, and she is quite a strange woman. She went through a lot in her life, which we learn about over the course course of this book. And actually, she does a lot of learning about herself over the course of this book, because when she goes through yet another traumatic circumstance, her father passes away, and she doesn't handle it the best. She has a very unique reaction to it. That kind of big reaction is picked up by the media, and we learn who she actually is along with her. So we are learning about her past as she is finding out about the things in her past that her father never told her about while he was alive. And we're putting together the traumatic pieces that have been following her for years that she never had a name for. This is not a plot-driven thriller, although there are intriguing plot elements. This is so character-driven, and it has amazing neurodivergence rep. Sally learns about the way that her brain works different from other people and how she can learn to love and accept that about herself. She learns to make connections and set boundaries and come to terms with the things in her past. It's really dark, but it's also so emotional and heartfelt. I felt so many emotions while I was reading this book. It takes you from laughing out loud to wanting to cry to feeling so horrified. It definitely is a thriller because it has an underlying mystery element to it, but the really big part of this book that makes it stand out is the characterization. If you are a character-driven girly, you have to read this one. Next up, we have another extremely recent read, and that is Jackal by Erin E. Adams. I just read this one in my Reading Thrillers by Black Authors reading vlog. Again, if you missed it, I will link it up above and down below. That was a really fun themed reading vlog that I did for Black History Month this month, and this was the standout pick from that video. In Jackal, we are following a Black woman who is returning to her predominantly white small hometown for her friend's wedding, and every single year in this small town, a young Black girl goes missing. This just so happens to be her friend's daughter, who is kidnapped during this wedding. And she will not rest until she finds out what is happening to these little girls, because she knows that there has to be more to it than just a random kidnapper. And the answer to everything is absolutely wild. It is not what I was expecting at all. There are some really cool, unique elements to this story that if you're feeling like every thriller's reading the same, this one will totally mix it up for you. The atmosphere is great, the pacing is great, and again, the characterization just really shines in this book. I feel like I knew our main character so fully and so deeply, and it really helped me get on board with wanting that mystery solved. I could feel her passion in every single page, and like, I'm talking about her like she's a real woman. She's not. She's literally a character, but that is how effective the writing was. I did give it 4.5 out of 5 stars because some of the ending pieces took me off guard in kind of a little bit of a negative way. I just wasn't expecting it. But if you are open to weirdness, you will love Jackal. Next up, we have a book that's going to be perfect for the upcoming spring and summer months, and that is You Can Trust Me by Wendy Hurd. This is about two best friends who are kind of like scammers. They're like petty criminals who just like lie and cheat their way across the country, living this life of luxury. They have ended up in California, and they kind of like scam their way into all these parties with rich people, and one of these parties, they meet this billionaire man, and they are both just enamored with him. They're obsessed with him, and one of them gets carted off to his private island, leaving the other one in the dust. And they've really never been separated in this way. They have kind of a codependent relationship. So the other one is freaking out trying to find her, especially when a couple weeks goes by and she has not heard from her. When this happens, she goes on this journey to try to find her. We are following both perspectives, so we actually know what's going on to the other girl while the other one is searching. It's such a high intensity, fast-paced thriller. It has all the like luxury, all of the like, I'm just a scrappy little girl scamming these rich men kind of energy. And the ending is explosive. It is so good. This was a really short one. I read it in my 24-hour readathon vlog that I did most recently. It's only 270 pages, so it's really good for like a quick beach read, a readathon book, and the vibes are just immaculate. If you like a good for her book about female friendship, luxury, classism, so many things, you will love this book. Next up, I have The Quiet Tenant by Clemence McCallan. And this book, to me, when I first saw the cover, I feel like I've said this before in a video. When I saw the cover of this book, I really didn't think she was anything. When this won the poll for my book club, I was flabbergasted. I was like, who really has a passion to read this book? Like, look at her. She's just giving nothing to me. Little did I know what would be on the inside in these pages. Oh my God, she is not giving nothing. She is giving everything. We are following a serial killer man, but not through the lens of this creepy ass man. Don't worry. We are following his antics through the eyes of the women in his life. It's similar to Notes on an Execution, but this is what I wanted Notes on an Execution to be, because it's actually exciting and heart pumping, and we get into all these dynamics. We're not dealing with slow, flowery language. So if that is not your thing, you are safe here. There is so much action as we follow this man post his wife's death. He has to move out of the house that his family was living in, which is actually owned by his late wife's parents. So he has to move with his daughter and his captive that he's keeping in the shed. So we are following the daughter, the captive, and his love interest. Yeah, this delusional woman who thinks she's with the best man in the world, and he's actually a serial killer. We also get glimpses throughout the book of little chapters from the women that he has killed, and those are really powerful chapters. It just makes the book all the more creepy and intense. There is this like huge scene at the end where there's like running and chasing and excitingness. It's so fast paced. It also lends itself to really great conversations. If you're looking for a book club book, this one would be great. A lot of thrillers, I don't know, they just feel kind of surface level, especially when you're like discussing them in a group. But this one, we had awesome discussions and a great live show in my book club. Which reminds me, by the way, if you'd like to join my book club, it is over on Patreon. I will link it down below. To join my book club, you don't even have to join the top tier. You can be in my $5.99 tier, and it's just $5.99 a month to read books with me and do reading sprints with me and watch a couple extra videos a month. It is so much fun over there. So if you want to join, I would love to have you. Our pick this month is Foe by Ian Reid. And the last book that I want to recommend to you guys in this video is Look Closer by David Ellis. I know a lot of people that don't like thrillers or don't often rate thrillers highly, I should say. A lot of thriller readers that just like don't click with a ton of popular thriller books have really liked this one. This wasn't a 5-star for me. I gave it 4 or 4.5, but obviously because I rated it so high, y'all know I did have a good time with it. In this book, we are just trying to figure out all of these overlapping relationships with horrible people. Like, that's kind of the theme of this book, is like everyone is kind of horrible. It's a bunch of crazy, flawed people just like living their lives and intertwining. At the crux of the story, we're following this very rich, very wealthy, luxurious couple. And by the, I think, second chapter in the book, one of them has ended up dead. And we are trying to figure out why, who, how, and seeing all the other murders, secrets, and lies that come as a result of it over the course of the book. This also takes place on Halloween for quite a few of the chapters. I believe like half of the chapters are kind of structured with the caveat of like however many days till Halloween, which is very cool and atmospheric. Yeah, like we have little sections throughout the book that's like the day after Halloween, the day before, blah, blah, blah. Because the murder that takes place in like the second chapter takes place on Halloween. Very cool, very interesting. The murderer is wearing like a Grim Reaper outfit. Yeah, it is just all scandalous drama. There are twists on twists on twists, and the atmosphere is unbeatable. If you're looking for a little summerween moment, Look Closer is your girl. So that is going to be it for today's recommendation video. I hope you guys found a couple thrillers to add to your TBR. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you're interested in getting a free month month of Skillshare. Go ahead and be one of the first 500 people to click that link down below and cash in on that offer. Learn something new, explore those passions, and of course, don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!